The battle for remote work continues. Amazon, Price Waterhouse, and more in this good news update. Let's get to it. Hello and welcome to Live Work Live, the channel dedicated to remote workers and the work from anywhere movement. I'm Steve, and I left New York City in early 2020 to work my full-time corporate remote job from the beautiful town of Woodstock, New York. As you'll see in my last video, I've started to include some lifestyle content in this channel. I really think it's important to keep that balance between working and living, both in real life and on this channel. But in the past few weeks, there's been a bunch of important developments in the world of remote work, and I want to spend today taking a quick look at the biggest headlines and discuss their impact on the work from anywhere movement. As many of you know, there is a struggle between the workers and the managers at companies around the future of work. At the start of this pandemic, we saw a sudden and dramatic shift to remote work for knowledge workers around the globe. People everywhere started to use technology to stay connected and highly productive, proving to everyone that remote work is possible, even preferable. Yet still in America, many, even most managers would prefer for their workers to remain in the office. So our first article is from HRDive.com. And here they're asking a very important question, which is who's going to win this remote work game of chicken. I think game of chicken is a good way to think about how we're currently dealing with this remote work standoff between management and employees. Basically, we're seeing who blinks first, and as this article shows, it seems to be employers that are blinking more than employees. And in fact, they say that employees seem to have the upper hand for now. And so what is doing that? Number one, the pandemic continues to drag on. Expectations that from the beginning of the year that this is all going to be wrapped up by the end of summer obviously were put on hold due to Delta. And as we are now approaching a period of time that will be basically 2 years of being fully remote, it's really that the toothpaste is out of the tube by this point, and most people are starting to realize it. One of the big drivers of this is that the demand for labor is higher than ever. We've all heard about the Great Resignation. People are really coming to terms with what they actually want from a job and from a career, how important the balance of living and working is in their lives, and they are expressing it with their feet and leaving bad companies and choosing better companies that support remote work. So they're saying that, we're getting a lot more inquiries saying, hey, help us adjust our hiring processes because we're used to only having to focus on people in Arizona, right? They're realizing that they can start looking and finding people from a broader, diverse area, which honestly is good for the companies if they start to embrace remote work. Not only can they have more candidates, but they can also find more diverse candidates and start bringing different viewpoints to the job. Interestingly, they say that while tech companies have been at the vanguard, the number of companies that are really embracing remote work is a plurality. In other words, this shift is happening across the economy. So this is good news for those of you who are maybe dealing with a company that hasn't made this commitment yet. You're starting to see more and more companies embrace remote work, and you can use this as ammunition when you talk to your bosses to advocate for yourself. Then they go on to, they cite Make My Move. I have a really great video, which I'll link to at the top of the screen right now, where I actually go to Make My Move and I review what I see are some of the best options. Basically, this is a website that shows you communities, states, towns that are offering incentive packages for remote workers to move there. So they're using them as a source, and I found that really interesting. One of the things they're saying is that these managers are lagging behind the employees. It's the managers who used to be in an environment where they could walk around and check in on people to see that they're not slacking off. It's this old school culture, right? It's true. It's these old school managers that do not know how to be effective. They only know how to do management theater. They walk around, they make small talk, they act busy, they have loud phone calls, they're showing off their work as opposed to actually producing something. And I really feel that what we're going to see in the years ahead is a realignment of the skills that are required for a manager. And it's not going to be this old school walk around and check on people and act like you're big and tough. It's going to be people that are effective networkers that know how to manage people, how to motivate people, and how to give people autonomy and responsibility and get the best work out of people in a remote environment. So if you are a manager like I am, start practicing these skills because it's the skills you're going to need in the future. As I mentioned in previous videos, many large companies laid out ambitious return to office plans in the spring of this year, 2021. Looking forward to a post-pandemic world and encouraged by the early efficacy of the vaccines, companies laid out mandates of all employees returning to the office full-time or majority time by the end of summer. One of the biggest employers to do so was Amazon. In fact, as recently as August, they stated that they were planning for an office-first work culture and set ambitious targets of a return in January of 2022. Employees were not happy, and many voiced their concerns to management and to the press. Well, guess what? Amazon blinked.
Amazon is backing off from their original demand that everybody be back in the office 3 days a week or more by January. In fact, they've done a complete 180, and they're now saying that, hey, remote work is fine. We were wrong. We are sorry, we blink. It goes on to say that what they're doing, though, is they're letting individual managers of teams decide when employees need to be in the office, allowing some teams to decide to be fully remote, some teams to maybe choose a day or two that they want to go in, and maybe some teams just choose a few times a month or year where they need to meet together. They say that these decisions should be guided by what will be most effective for our customers, and not surprisingly, we will continue to be evaluated by how we deliver for customers regardless of where the work is performed. So, I think that's fair. I think just because we're changing where we work, it doesn't mean we get to change the outcomes that we're measured by. So I'm fully in support of that. What I'm not necessarily in support of is allowing individual managers to choose. This story has been everywhere. I think it's interesting because they're such a large employer and because they made such a stand about the importance of an office-first culture, and now they're backing away from it.
Now, personally, I feel that while this is a win for the work from anywhere movement, it's an incomplete one because it leaves too much discretion on individual managers and team leads. And as that first article shows, too many managers are insecure about their own roles and lack of effectiveness in a remote work environment. So I imagine that the rollout will cause lots of problems for Amazon, as some teams are forced to return while others embrace the future of work. Will employees go along with an individual manager's desire to return to the office? Will remote teams see an onslaught of transfer requests? Will in-office teams see huge attrition numbers? It remains to be seen, but I think this experiment will show as much about the effectiveness of certain managers as it does about the effectiveness of remote teams. In contrast, I'd like to take a look at another huge company that made a major announcement a couple of weeks ago. That company is the international accounting firm and consulting firm PwC, or PwC.
This is a big deal. This is a company that is an accounting firm and a consulting firm. They're one of the biggest in the business. They lead the market, and they know how to count their dollars, to count their pennies, and to save money. And what are they doing to save money? They are making sure that all 40,000 U.S. client service employees are allowed to work virtually and live anywhere they want in perpetuity, forever. This is a permanent decision, and it affects everybody. I think this is the way to go. You need to do it all or nothing, because if you do what Amazon does and allows individual teams to decide, you're going to have a lot of inequity across your organization, and the teams are going to not follow a similar way of working, and your corporate culture is going to be fragmented. People talk a lot about the danger of remote work to corporate culture. No, it's a danger to the old way of corporate culture. You can have a brand new, revitalized, forward-facing corporate culture that is based on a remote-first work policy. And I think that is why PwC is smart in taking the approach that they're taking here. So bravo, cheers to PricewaterhouseCoopers. Congratulations if you're one of these 40,000 employees. I'm sure you are breathing a sigh of relief ever since this news came out. If that's you, please let me know. I'm really curious to hear what your take is on this news.
So, what's your company's approach to the future of work? Is your team or company preparing to support remote work in the years ahead? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this content and want to see more of my personal journey as a new remote worker, consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video so we can spread to more people that can use this information. Thank you so much. Okay, that's it for today. So until next week, remember, work is not a place, it's a pursuit. See you soon.